Hey kids, welcome to Tamrielic History class. I see many of you have already noticed that your regular teacher isn't here today. A truly phenomenal display of observational talent. So I suppose I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Lord God on High, Dagoth Ur, Divine Master of Morrowind and Dreamer of the World. But you can just call me Lord God on High, Dagoth Ur, Divine Master of Morrowind and Dreamer of the World. I'll be your substitute teacher today. Before we begin, I'm going to go ahead and establish a few new classroom rules that your previous mongrel dog teacher was most likely too uneducated to implement before today. Rule number 1, renounce any and all deities in existence and worship me as the one true God instead. Don't worry, it's not like I'm running a cult or anything. I don't even sell NFTs. Rule number 2, don't be a member of an inferior race. And by inferior race, I mean Argonians, Khajiit, Altmer, Argonians, Bosmer, Khajiit, Bretons, Argonians, Imperials, Argonians, Nords, Argonians, Orcs, Khajiit, Redguards, Argonians, Aelids, Khajiit, Dwemer, Argonians, Falmer, Argonians, Mormer, Argonians, Khajiit, Akaviri creatures, Khajiit, Argonians, and any other race or species that isn't Dunmer. I think that rule is pretty self-explanatory. Just make sure you came out of the right species vaginas and you should be fine. Note that I said vaginas, thereby disqualifying all you filthy fucking sauropsids that hatched from eggs. Have you seen the twin lamps? They're down in the Quama mines. Get to work, you little fucking geckos. Rule number 3, no bigotry. It's not nice or cool. Anyway, having covered all those pesky rules, let's get down to business. I don't got no time to play around. What is this? Spit your game, talk your shit, grab your Dagoth, call your clique, and turn to Chapter 5 in your Tamrielic history textbooks. Because today we'll be covering the defecation of Malakath and the pilgrimage of Saint Veleth. Let's see, can anyone here tell me which of the Tamrielic races is the superior race destined to rule over all others as a planet-wide theocratic empire? That's right, Dunmer! Great job, you contemptible kiss-asses! But did you kids know that the Dunmer were not always the gray-skinned specimens of sensuous eroticism that walk the earth today? In fact, according to the Annals Annals of Merethic history, the progenitors of contemporary Dunmer were Aldmer, who bore a golden skin tone similar to that of today's cousin-humping High Elves. Like the High Elves we all know and hate, the Aldmer worshipped a lamentable junta of false gods known as the Aedra, which in Old Aldmeris roughly translates to our considerably disappointing and impotent granddaddies and grandmamas. See, the Aldmer believed they were the direct descendants of the Aedric gods, and it's honestly quite baffling that anyone would seek to publicly advertise that belief in the form of a state religion. Apparently, a select group of genetically superior Aldmer thought it was baffling as well. Among them was a fine gent called Veleth, soon to be Saint Veleth, who was so embarrassed by the inadequacy of his people's religion that he started worshipping a cabal of anti-Aedra known as Daedra, which in Old Aldmeris roughly translates to cunts. The Daedric princes, as they like to be called due to their fragile egos and microscopic peepees, can be distinguished from the Aedra in that they did not partake in the creation of the mortal plane, in no small part due to their functioning brain cells. 3 of said princes, Azura, Boethia, and Mephala, introduced themselves to Veleth in the form of 3 chicks with absolutely gargantuan bazongas. Veleth, judicious elf that he was, immediately abandoned his old Aedric faith to bask in the mammarian glory of the 3 princes' sextuple Dagoths. Yeah, I'd be calling them good Daedra, too. Naturally, many of Veleth's followers, all of them being of genetically superior inclination, were happy to accompany their guru master into the beatific ball pit of false god Titty. Veleth became known as the Jug Prophet, and before long his disciples rightly declared him a saint. Veleth's community of blissful, lively, racially superior, and titty-loving men and women would come to be known as the Chimer, or the Changed Elves. For the breasticles had changed them in mind and spirit, and they would never be the same. But you can't grab a good false god titty, let alone 6 of them, without invoking jealousy from other less fortunate life forms. Recognizing the irresistibility of joining Veleth's new revolutionary faith, the Aldmer kings persecuted their Chimer cousins and attempted to reconvert them into bland Aedra worshippers. But once a titty lover, always a titty lover. And so Veloth and his acolytes self-exiled from their native homeland to the uncharted horizons, determined to sustain their far superior culture and practices beyond their prejudiced Aldmeri overlords' control. This enraged the false Adric gods of the Aldmer, especially Trinimac, spiteful champion of Ariel, who confronted Veloth and the Chimer as they attempted to leave. Boethia, hilarious bitch that she is and most certainly was, fucking ate him. No, seriously, this part is actual lore. She ate him, spoke with his voice, and then with the rectal might that only a false god such as a Daedric prince could muster, discharged him as a greasy, foul-smelling, steateric turd pile. Fucking funniest thing to happen in the entire Merethic era, I swear. And so, from the putrid digestive tract of Boethia, a new Daedric prince had been born. His name, and do pay attention kids, this'll be on your exam, was Malakath. And with his fecal transformation came an equally WTF transformation of his loyal followers. The disciples of Trinimac became the orcs, and that's why they're so fucking gross. Saint Veloth and the Chimer went on to explore the distant continent of Tamriel, eventually settling in the promised land of Resdain, later known as Morrowind. There they would continue to survive and thrive until they realized their 3 Daedric gods were false as fuck, after which they were transformed into the Dunmer, but that's a story for a different day. In our next history class, we'll be examining Chapter 6 of your textbooks, covering the 6th house and the tribe unmourned, as well as the War of the First Council and Saint Nerevar's penis. But now it's time to transition into science class. Please open up your copies of Notes on Racial Phylogeny, House Dagoth edition. Chapter 1, Beast Folk Aren't People.